So what will we find out? We're going to find out if I created myself or if I didn't create myself. Of course, Western culture tells you create yourself, but we're going to find out. Have I had anything at all to do with who I am? We'll see. We all have this idea, it's a concept as well, that I make decisions. And we're going to look into that also. Do I make decisions? Let's find out. We'll see the movement that actually happens. And we'll see if there's actually an ego in there making a decision or not. This is also part of being the end of the ego. To make decisions, there has to be one in there, an ego who makes the decisions. And we're going to find out if that's how it works by inquiring and seeing for ourselves that movement, what actually happens. Decisions about your career, your partner, your whatever music you like, or anything like that. Did you choose or make any decisions? We're going to find out. We'll see. Did you choose your likes or your dislikes? Did you choose the food you like, the music you like, the sports you like, the entertainment you like? Did you choose to like blue instead of green? Did you choose your political leanings? Did you decide to be politically one way or another? Did you choose your spiritual or religious leanings? Did you decide to be a Buddhist or a Christian or whatever? Let's find out. Let's find out. That movement. We'll see the movement itself. I don't want to tell you yes or no. I want you to see the actual movement, what happens there. So then you'll know for yourself. Did you create the so-called bad actions you've done in your life, or the so-called good actions you've done in your life? Are you the creator of those? Did you choose bad actions and choose good actions? Well, let's find out that also. Did you create your own psychological makeup, whether it's healthy or unhealthy? Did you create that yourself? Did you choose to be psychologically healthy or psychologically unhealthy? Let's find that out. Let's find out. Let's see for ourselves what's actually true. And once we see what's true for ourselves, then we know it's true for everyone as well. And this has very big implications for how you are with yourself and with others and in the world as well. If, and again, I'm not going to give you the answer now, if you find out during the course of this 2-day intensive that you had nothing to do with anything about who you are, your good actions, your bad actions, your positivity, your negativity, nothing to do with who you are, that you could not possibly be any different than you are now, then how can you judge yourself or judge others? How can you blame yourself or blame others? How can you have things like acrimony, revenge, or punishment? You can't. Because you know something. It sounds like I'm giving away the answer, but it's to speak about this part, I have to imply. The idea of judgment and blame and acrimony and revenge comes from the belief that I have created myself. And because I have created myself and I'm such a good person, you've created yourself and you're such a bad person. So you have to be punished. You see? You see, so this is not a small thing we're looking into together here, you know. I'm not of the belief that the world is going to change and everybody's going to wake up and consciousness is going to expand and everybody's going to be singing Kumbaya when the great awakening happens. I'm not of that belief. But if, and this is just a, wishful thinking. If that belief was not anywhere in existence in human consciousness, it would be a very different world we live in. Very different. It would be very different. But we can't do anything about that. But what we can see is that movement in ourselves. And without making a change will happen on its own just by seeing. Like the Bible says, know what's true, and truth will set you free. It doesn't say do this and do that and fix this and correct that. It says know what's true. And simply by knowing what's true, a change happens. Obviously, for obvious reasons. And that's all what my work is about. My work is, this work didn't come to me with that particular quote from the Bible in mind. It came subsequently. That quote, I realized, is really, what I want to share. I want people to know for themselves, I don't prescribe spiritual practices or sadhanas or right behavior or right this and right that and morals. None of that. That's for religion. That's for ego. That's for the doers, the belief in the idea that there's free will, that I can do something. That's all ignorance. What I prescribe is know what's true and then see what happens from that, And how do we know what's true? By looking and seeing the movement in ourselves. We know it's true by, well, if you've been on my open meetings, so I always start with 20 minutes, I share a holiday. So we recognize, well, self-realization, really, awakening, you could call it, at the beginning, We recognize our essential being of freedom at the very beginning. And so we see that that's true. But that's only half the picture. The other half the picture is to see the movements that create bondage and ignorance within ourselves. That's why an open meeting can never be the end for 99.999% of the people. Of course not. It wouldn't have been for me either. That's why I have intensives, because there's a lot that needs to be seen. The movements of ignorance need to be seen. And from the knowing of truth comes know what's true, and truth will set you free by seeing these movements happen in ourselves, not philosophy and not concept, nothing like this, not practices towards the future. We see now. we see what's happening now. Just to say a little bit more about why I think this is so important is that the world has always been contentious and divisive. It's always been so. There's always the left against the right and this against that in this country. It's always been that. But we all have seen in the last few years this elevated to really heightened insanity of divisiveness. And I'm not prescribing one side or the other, but I'll just to mention the things, the pandemic and these contentious elections in America or wherever country you're from, this thing about online censorship in America, the misinformation debate, the war in Ukraine, all of these things that are really hot buttons in the news, push, 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 is creating such a diversion of ideas and people, and it's just a left or right versus wrong or left versus right, whatever. And there's a lot of acrimony and hatred for the opposite views and dismissiveness of the opposite views and calling the other people wrong and whatever hideous name they can come up with, we can come up with. So I have my views, like we all do here. I did not create them. That's just the way I see things. But I don't care what other people's views are. It doesn't make me hate the person. I mean, it's really ridiculous to say. But that's what we see so much of in our world, So that's when, and that's because I know I didn't create myself, and no one else created themselves. I didn't create my political or spiritual or whatever social views. That's just how it is here. And nor did anyone else create their views. So how can I demonize, even if I disagree? It's okay, no problem. So that's another reason I think it's extremely important. But we're all here for that, because for all of us here, we've been internal seekers. We want to get to the bottom of something, otherwise we wouldn't be seeking. And everyone here has the intention of goodness. Someone who's, well, we're all imperfect. I'm not saying perfect, but the people who are mostly coming to these meetings or on the path, they have the ideal of goodness, at least, of of uh, of health as well, and of love, even. So then there is the opportunity for us who come for this reason, not just to me, but whoever's on the path. The reason really ultimately is for peace, happiness, love. That's what our ultimate coming home, which all those things are, peace, happiness, love. So whatever, and again, I say it again because it's very contentious in the world now. Whatever side of any of these debates we find ourselves, and I say find ourselves because we don't choose. We may think we choose, but we're going to find out about all of that. Did we choose to feel one way or the other politically? Let's find out. We will find out. But whatever side of any of these current debates we find ourselves on, did we choose that? We'll know by the end of this intensive. Or is that simply how the movement has happened here? For what reason, I don't know. It's just simply what is, you see. And, we're all the same. We're all born or coming into the world out of the womb, whatever, with pure, empty, pristine mind. Which a holiday reveals, by the way. We'll do a holiday before we get to the inquiries and experiments. But when we come out of the womb, not yet have all of these samskaras, the mental impressions, been added to our pure, empty mind. And that's true for all of us. And what's also true for all of us is then comes the first original idea that I am separate. And then the samskaras, the mental impressions, start accruing, and a lifetime of experiences, of ideas, of concepts, of negative experiences and positive experiences. It still all starts accruing in our minds. And it's true for all of us. We're all the same. It doesn't matter what the specific content of each person's mind is, but that movement is the same for everyone. And we'll see if any of that is self-created. Could it have been any different? We'll find out. So I say we're all the same in two ways. First, in our essential being, the pure empty mind, which is still exactly now as it was when we came out of the womb. Nothing has changed. It's still the same. And we're all the same as that. And that's what a holiday reveals. And we're all the same in the accumulated movements or impressions impressed in our pure virgin mind, that movement. The content is different for everyone. So the content of this particular person, the name, the form, the impressions in the mind, the experiences that have formed this particular discrete entity that's got a name tag on it, Sal, could not be any different than it is. And nor do I deny that as well. So I say, not only am I the essential pure empty mind, I am also the accumulated impressions with the name tag Sal on it. I am both. And neither are separate from each other either. They're all part of the one movement. And neither are self-created either. Neither the essential being, empty mind, pure, pristine, virgin being that I am is not self-created. And the movement that appears that creates this apparently discrete, separate individual with the name tag Sal on it is also not self-created. Therefore, there's nothing to deny about any of it. So I say, yes, I am the body called Sal with its particular conditionings, its particular likes and dislikes, its particular preferences, its particular views. And it's all the movement here that cannot be any different than it is. Do you see what I'm pointing to here? And if that's true for me, it's true for everyone, then how can anyone be blamed for being who they are? And that's the sinner, and that's the saint. That's the healthy mentally person, and that's the very unhealthy and even insane person. Cannot be different than they are. It's not possible. And so that brings us to the really the point of why would we want to even look into this question in the first place? Compassion. Compassion for ourselves, compassion for other people, compassion for the world. Love. Love for ourselves, for other people, and love for the world.